Hello to everyone out in Maryland's beautiful 8th Congressional District and beyond. I'm here for my favorite time of the week. It is time for our local hero, and we've got a really extraordinary local hero for you this week. Former state senator Rich Madaleno. I think of him like that because we served together for many years in the state Senate. He, of course, represented District 18 for several terms, and before that was a delegate from D18. But he now is our chief administrative officer, which he's been doing for almost a year through the crisis. And before that was the director of the Office of Management and Budget in Montgomery County. But he's been central to our ability to get through this crisis. And Rich, we are so delighted to make you the local hero for this first week of June.
Well, thank you very much, Jamie, for this honor. It's my pleasure to serve this community, the community I grew up in, like you. So it's so nice. It's so nice to have this honor and recognition from you, and it's just so nice to sit down and have a conversation with you. And I can't wait for very soon to do it in person.
Well, it's been way too long, but we are all aware of the extremely arduous work you've been engaged in to get our county through this process. And I mean, maybe it's the reopening that we're going through that will help cast some light on what the difficulties were. I mean, what are some of the major things we're coming out of that you're relieved that we're not going to have to deal with anymore?
Well, I'm just, I'm hopeful we will not have any more deaths as a result of COVID-19. We've lost 1,600 Montgomery County residents since the beginning of the pandemic last March. We have done, and I don't know if people recognize just how much of an effort has happened in a short period of time. 120 days ago, we had 0.25%, 1/4 of our county was fully vaccinated. We are now at the point where we are about to cross over today, 75% of our adult population fully vaccinated.
Wow.
89% of people over 65 fully vaccinated. And we're nearing 60% of the total population fully vaccinated. And that's with, everyone under 12 not even being eligible. So it's been a remarkable effort by the people of Montgomery County to get tested, to be responsible, to do social distancing, to wear masks, then to come in and get vaccinated. And then the Montgomery County government, all of my colleagues in health, and then volunteers across county government, and then volunteers from the public to stand up all these clinics and get all these people vaccinated. It's been almost 1.2 million shots in people's arms.
Extraordinary. Well, it was a game changer when we got the mass vaccination site, right? I mean, it was kind of like pulling teeth there.
That helped, and it was, we were a victim of our own success. As Montgomery County residents were willing to drive anywhere in the state to get vaccinated, the state kept saying, oh, no need to put a clinic in Montgomery County. But finally, we did stand one up at Montgomery College, Germantown, which really turned out to be a very popular destination for people. But I don't know if people realize this. The Montgomery County Health Department has put more shots into people's arms than anyone else in the state of Maryland, other than the University of Maryland Medical System, Johns Hopkins, and CVS. It's
Wow.
Remarkable how many shots we have done to get people in Maryland vaccinated.
Well, we're very grateful to you for all of the work that went into that, and also to meeting all the other kinds of needs that have flowed out of the crisis in terms of emergency housing, emergency shelter, food aid. I mean, we've had a real crisis in lots of communities, right?
We've had an enormous crisis, but I have to say, if it were not for you and your Democratic colleagues, I mean, let's be honest, your Democratic colleagues in Congress who demanded during the Trump administration and then got through the American Rescue Plan money for local governments to help their communities. I mean, without that assistance, I don't know what we would have done, because we would have had to have shut down so many other services. We were able to keep the community strong and expand services, not just for testing and vaccines, but I don't know if you know this, Jamie, we have helped prepare and deliver 20 million meals to people in Montgomery County, whether it was through MCPS, through partners, getting it out to seniors, whatever. 20 million meals over the last year, almost 10 million pounds of food, fresh food given to individuals in order to help them survive. Thanks to the federal government providing assistance direct to us and to the state, we're going to be able to provide $115 million in assistance to people who need help on housing and be able to pay their rent. $100 million in direct assistance from our county to families and households, matching the federal government's expansion of the earned income tax credit. You and I fought for that so many years in the state Senate to expand it, to increase it. Well, now the state legislature and Governor Hogan work together to get a broader refundable earned income tax credit and to expand it to more people in our community to make sure everyone working in our community was eligible for it. So that's going to put in, again, tens of millions of dollars into people's pockets. And that's in addition to the money you fought for, the direct checks that people got out of the CARES Act and out of the American Rescue Plan. And then, I mean, we're able to put $80 million, just Montgomery County, $80 million into small businesses in our county. And that's in addition to the money that you got for the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program. So, I mean, we have, in partnership, the federal government, the state government, and the county, we have been able to put hundreds of millions of dollars out into the community to make sure people got fed, to make sure people got support, to make sure no one went hungry, to make sure businesses could survive. We learned the lesson. You and I sat in the legislature during the last recession and saw the impact on the state and local government. I am so thankful that strong people like you were in Congress to make sure those lessons were learned, the mistakes were not made, and in fact, the federal government stood up and provided assistance to, whether it's the local governments, to families, to individuals, to businesses, to make sure we didn't have that same sort of, not just a harm that occurred in the 08 to 10 period, but the stagnation that followed. And with the American Rescue Plan that President Biden put through, I mean, I'm excited that we are primed and ready for a strong economic rebound here. I thought often of you because I don't think there's a smarter person in Congress or someone who is well read, better read than you. But you know, I think we are about to hit another Roaring 20s. You know, the Roaring 20s happened after World War I, after the Spanish flu. We're about to hit another Roaring 20s. But as you know, F. Scott Fitzgerald is a permanent resident of Montgomery County. He's buried here in Rockville, almost like just 2 blocks from where I'm sitting. With his, I think what the seminal American novel of the Roaring 20s, The Great Gatsby, he provides us both a guidepost and warning for what the Roaring 20s were both positively and negatively. And you know, our big challenge moving forward is how we make sure the new Roaring 20s are fair and equitable for all, and that we don't.
Yeah, we want to make sure we want to make sure we come roaring back together. Yes. As an entire community, just the way we got through the crisis. But that last statement was so eloquent and beautiful, Rich. It reminds me of really of your career, which you have devoted to public life and public service. And you have always wanted to make government work for the people. You were never a politician when in elective office, nor in appointive office, never someone who bashes the government and bashes people who work in government, like the cops and the firefighters. And of course, you're somebody who basically takes the position that in a democracy, the government is us, and we got to make it work for us. So that's beautiful. But I was reminiscing, because this is Pride Month too, that you were a critical figure in the transformation of our state when it came to equal rights. And Maryland played a really important role nationally in the marriage equality struggle. And it was a great honor in my career to be able to work with you on that. But I wonder if you would reflect on that in terms of Pride Month. It's a big month for you and for Mark, your husband, and for the kids. Katie, I know, is graduating this week from BCC. But reflect about the transformation that you've seen our state go through, that you played such a key role in.
Well, it's interesting that you should bring up Pride Month, because I was thinking back to my service in the Montgomery County government in the mid-90s. And I remember County Executive Duncan moving forward with a proclamation declaring June what we then just referred to it as Gay Pride Month. And how controversial that was, that we would do that. And how just as you know, it's not that long ago, that was the mid 1990s, and that it was brave to be out in the as a county employee. And now, you know, I have the pleasure to serve as the top unelected official in the county government, so the top county employee as a gay man, and no one bats an eyelash. And you know, and that's because people like my family stood up, people like your family stood up and said, you know what, this is unacceptable. Why aren't we letting people live their lives? Why aren't we letting people be to be out and to have a chance to be happy and successful and have the same sort of benefits that we all enjoy, and the protections that come with marriage to spouses and to families, and we stood up and made that change, and it's remarkable that it's almost like a shrug now, you know, when you think about it.
It's a great
controversial
lesson.
It was.
Yeah,
how controversial it was, and now
well, it's a great lesson, because people thought it was politically toxic and untouchable. And you know, I always tell the story about how they said to me, you don't want to get involved, you don't want to touch that issue, it's never going to happen, it won't happen. And then look where we are today. I mean, it's like, you know, for young people, they can't even believe it when you tell them that gay people couldn't get married 10 years ago. You know, yep. They're astonished by it.
And this is the amazing thing that you have done, Jamie, as an elected official, as a professor, as an activist within this community. But it's also part of the tradition of Montgomery County. I mean, this is a community that has sought to expand rights and benefits for all, expand that circle of inclusion. I mean, Montgomery County doesn't have the best history. I mean, you can look back and see all of the challenges that we had. You can go to the new Josiah Henson Museum on Old Georgetown Road and see a cabin where people were actually enslaved, the actual basis for Uncle Tom's Cabin, right here in Bethesda. For the same token, we have been a leader on this effort, and we lead the state, we lead the nation on pushing for these things, thanks to brave people like yourself. And I don't know if people remember this. I mean, talk about, you know, a hero. We all contributed something during this fight, but I vividly remember you were undergoing chemotherapy treatment in the middle of this marriage debate, yet you got in your car, you got yourself in Annapolis to defend us every single day, to be at that forefront. And I remember, hopefully I won't embarrass you by repeating this, but it's all on the public record. I remember you saying that, you know, you were in pain from the chemotherapy, but you realized that pain was nothing in comparison with the pain that people faced in not being able to marry their loved ones. You found it was, as usual, you're far more eloquent than just about anyone else you might be with. But I remember, I'm trying to think of your language about it's an individual and not injustice. when
you're turning this around, you're gonna have to wait for that one. But it was about misfortune and injustice, I think.
Yeah,
you're sweet to remember, Rich. But you know, I remember, I had my little chemo belt I would wear after my sessions, and Jim Brochin, who was someone that you and I served with, Senator from Baltimore County, said I was just wearing it for sympathy to get votes for marriage equality, which may have been right, you know. But in any event, those were some tough days, but they were some beautiful days of struggle that we had together, and I will always remember it with pride. And I will always honor you for the critical role that you played, because had you not run for office openly and become our first gay senator, first openly gay senator in the history of the state, I know it would not have happened when it did. And Maryland played a key role, and it was acknowledged by the Supreme Court as part of this trend of states moving in this direction. And so, look, Rich, for your noble role in that struggle, for the commitment of you and your family, and for the extraordinary role you've played getting us through COVID-19. You are our local hero. And so I want everybody to come up and give you at least a fist bump, if not a COVID-19 safe hug over this week, because you're such a treasure in our community. So thank you.
That's very kind of you, Jamie. And thank you for everything that you do on behalf of the county, and certainly everything you've done over the last year on behalf of the nation.
I appreciate that. Rich Madaleno, our local hero. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.